Hello, welcome to Inside the Chambers. I'm your host, Chris Chambers. So this is my first video podcast, and I wanted to provide a nonpartisan platform where elected officials, people seeking office, and community leaders can come and talk about their views, and we bring relevant information to the Tampa Bay community. Like I said, this is our first podcast, Inside the Chambers. Look for us on Facebook, share us, like us, and spread the word to the community. So, my first guest today on Inside the Chambers is Ron McMullen. Ron is running for sheriff of Hillsborough County. Ron is a retired commander from the Tampa Police Department with nearly 3 decades of service. Ron, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so let's get into it. Can you tell us about your background and your experience?
Absolutely. I was a service brat. My dad was in the Air Force, so I was raised in Europe until I was 13. I moved to Brandon, which is Hillsborough County, 43 years ago, and don't do the math. And I went to school there. I graduated from high school there, Brandon Senior High. I was on a radio show recently, and someone said, "Hey, you got to talk about Horace Mann. We're Horace Mann Junior High, man. That's what I remember you from." But anyway, went to Brandon Senior High, graduated in 1982,
Okay.
Left for college, Brown University, and I eventually came back to and went to the academy in 1988. So I retired recently, or 2 years ago, 2018. But I just went through the ranks, just plugged away. Did street anti-crime. I did street level narcotics. Then I made vice detective. Then I was a corporal, patrol corporal, firehouse corporal. I mean, I got to do a lot of stuff within the department, patrol sergeant, lieutenant in all 3 districts, and then a captain in a couple of districts. Then finally I made major, a commander of special operations.
Okay.
And you might think of special operations as it's the horses, the dogs, the boats, the planes, the SWAT team, the bomb squad.
Correct.
That's special operations. And also, you can think of it as Homeland Security.
Okay.
That's what most departments call it, Homeland Security. And we took care of a large event like the college football playoffs or Gasparilla, any large event or a VIP coming to town. That's what my division took care of. So I got a huge knowledge, of what goes on in the department and how to handle it. So
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Definitely sounds like you have a very wealth of experience and knowledge, and I'd say know the city very well with some of the incidents and things that you've managed. Thank you. So, most people when they retire from the police department, especially, nearly 3 decades, they just want to sit on a beach somewhere and relax. So tell me, what made you decide to run for sheriff? Tell me how did that come about?
I'd been asked for a couple of years at the end of my career, would I do it? And I was like, no. I wanted to do it when I was younger, then I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I mean, I've done it 30 years, I need to retire, I need to have a good time. And I did I started traveling. I went to, Europe for a couple of weeks and visited friends and family, catch up with them for several months. And I got home and it's like, I just had more in me. There's more to do.
Correct.
And it's still my calling. I know I'm good at it. And it was just pulling me back. And I'm like, I can make the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office just a pride again,
Okay.
to make it, an example of what law enforcement should and could be. And so I decided to throw my hat in the ring.
Okay.
First I said I wouldn't, but then, like I said, people kept asking me, and then I kept telling myself, will the people of Hillsborough County accept me? And the answer is yes. So that's why I did it.
Awesome. Now, there hadn't been an outsider to take over the helm as sheriff at Hillsborough County since 1964. So, do you see that as a challenge? It's always been a sort of a pass the torch type of deal. Do you see that as a challenge? And what type of advantage do you think you can bring coming from a large agency of similar size with your experience and your background?
Well, you have to, I've never been anointed or appointed, but that's what they do to their sheriff. They just pass the torch. And you never get new eyes. You never get new ideas. You don't get the outside look at your place. You think everything's fine, and so you just carry on, keep everything copacetic and move on that way. I think an advantage would be I'm coming from the outside. I have new ideas. I have new perspectives on what can be done better, effectively and efficiently.
Okay.
And it just makes sense. Let the voters decide who their sheriff is. I think it should be partisan, but I'm the one that can stand in the middle because between the two battling back and forth, because I've been a Democrat, I've been a Republican, I'm a Democrat, now I'm independent. So I don't flip flop, and I'm not a flip flopper. Everyone says I don't flip flop on my ideas.
Okay.
It's the party. It doesn't matter if there's a R, a D, or I, or NPA after my name. I'm still Ronald Wayne McMullen, and I'm still going to be the same. I'm going to do the right thing all the time, and we're not going to always agree. It's not in law enforcement. It's not always pretty.
Correct.
But I like having the hard conversations, and I wish this country could get that. Let's just have the conversation. Let's just talk about what's real, and then do something about it. Not just talk about it and it's over.
Correct.
Not taking it's over. I showed what I think. No, let's just do something about it. If you really want change, then change it. Get with your lawmakers and change it. Don't try to beat up the police officer on the street corner. He's doing nothing. That does nothing. Did you lose your message?
All right. I like it. So in 2018, the Democrat candidate for sheriff, Gary Pruitt, he ran for sheriff. But he garnered 42% of the vote. Do you think running as an independent, that will put you at a disadvantage? And what's your strategy to kind of win over some of those votes that Mr. Pruitt, that he garnered back in 2018?
Yes, I think back then it was just R&D, and some Republicans are only going to vote Republican. Some Democrats are only going to vote Democrats.
Right.
And there's a small percentage that's only going to do that. But most people now, they're getting it. Here's what happens. Here's the result of you just voting your party and not voting the man. You have to vote the best person for the job who you think would be the best person for the job. Now, Gary used to work for me, but to be honest, Gary has never run a squad. He's never run a shift. He's never run a district. He's never run a division. He's never had anything to do with a budget. Come on. How you go from not running a squad to now you want to run the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
Correct.
No.
Correct.
No.
You definitely do have a more significant amount of knowledge and that command experience than he does. So, okay. Awesome. Well, once again, if you're tuning in, folks, this is Inside the Chambers. I am your host, Chris Chambers. We are coming to you live from Davidoff of Geneva in Tampa, Florida. So I want to thank Davidoff for letting us have this beautiful venue. My first guest today is Ron McMullen, who's running for sheriff of Hillsborough County. All right, so back to the podcast. So one of your top priorities is to restore HCSO's manpower and patrol. With the current environment in law enforcement, everything that's going on that we see now across the United States, there may be an issue with kind of recruiting or retaining minorities, which I think the Sheriff's Department should be representative of the community that it serves. What's your strategy to recruit or retain minorities who may be thinking and saying, hey, maybe law enforcement is not for me with the current climate going on?
Well, see, I look at it as a plus in the sense of, I got to look at the silver lining. I think if you want to come on as an officer now, you really want to be a police officer.
Right.
So that makes everything that much easier. You really, really want to do this job because a lot of people are hating on you.
Correct.
And when I came in, it was right around the Rodney King and the Tampa riots and stuff. So I really wanted to do this job. It wasn't like the only thing I could do or the only job I could find. So that's the person I'm looking for. Someone who has the mettle to stand up for what's right. Someone who has a character to stand up for what's right. You can call a spade here, and you can just look at something. It's not always easy. It should be easy to do the right thing. But, your family and friends and might be pulling and tugging on you in one way or the other. But if this is the job you want to do, then doggone it, I want you to do it for me.
Correct.
And I'll scour this nation until we get the right people, whether they be ex-military or, college or, just people that want to do the job and want to do it correctly. And I agree with you 100%. Your department should reflect your community.
Correct. I know back in the day, I don't want to sound like I'm old or something, but you saw a lot of departments would target these guys getting out of the military. And I think a lot of departments has kind of shifted for that. Maybe they want a longer tenure employee, but I think those are the candidates who have some life experience, know how to talk, know how to de-escalate. Nothing against the younger SWAT type of kids that's coming out of college, but I think that might make for a better quality officer.
See, well, making it a profession, you do need education. You need more education, and I always push education. I love education. My parents pushed that on me and my brother and sister, and so I understand that. But at the same time, you just hit the nail on the head. You have life experience. You know what it is to go to a job and the responsibility of going to the job and getting there on time and doing the job correctly. You know what it is to answer to someone, so you better do this. You know, you got to do this correctly. That says a lot. A lot of times you'll get guys out of college that are brilliant. They did a great job in college, and they will be a good police officer. But doggone it, we got to coach them, train them up. Yeah, and it takes a while. So when you want to hit someone to hit the ground running, you get an ex-military man who has some college, and you make college available for him or her.
Correct.
Then I think you're ahead of the 8 ball. So I don't want to disregard anyone just because they don't have a lot of college right now. Are they in the process of completing college? How much college do they have, and are they serious about it? And can we be serious about them?
Correct.
So I think that's important. And we have so many colleges right here in our backyard.
Correct.
In the state of Florida alone, you have Florida State, FAMU, FAU, FIU.
So those educational opportunities are there.
Absolutely.
It takes a little bigger on the individual person to get.
Then you have MacDill right here in Tampa. All these guys getting out. So just show them what you have, see if they're interested, and if they really want to do this job, then we really want to have you.
All right. So with the law enforcement climate again, looking at what recently happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, with the shooting there and the civil unrest. Right now, I feel that any city, regardless if it's Democratic or Republican run, any city is on the threshold of experiencing civil unrest due to the wrong decision of any one officer. I think we all can agree on that. So with all your experiences, what policies would you implement at the sheriff's office or continue to foster just to ensure that all officers are using the appropriate use of force?
First of all, you have to have a relationship with the community,
Yes.
and the community has to believe in you. That's where you get your actual power and your enforcement from. So when the Hillsborough County citizens believe you're going to do the right thing, and when I get in front of the camera, I said, listen, here's what we did and here's why we did it, then there's a belief there, there's an understanding there. In my mind, I'm thinking, why would you let this guy get back to his car? Everyone's like, oh, he's going to his car to check on his kids. Okay, that sounds pretty.
Yeah.
But in my mind, that's not what's happening there. If you tase him twice, if you're fighting on one side of the car with him, why would you allow him to get in the car? Why didn't someone tackle him? Why didn't you slam the door and break his arms? Why didn't you do, And I know that sounds horrible, but that's a lot better than the result he has now.
Yeah.
Right. So, but like I said, law enforcement's not always pretty, but come on, he's going to the car to check on his kids. I don't know. I haven't seen the entire tape. I haven't seen the result of what was in the car. So I'm not talking from a point of education, but I'm just saying there are certain steps that you have to take that make more sense from an officer safety standpoint. And you have to use the force that's necessary to apprehend this man. But these tasers, it's like now everyone thinks that taser is the end all do all, but if one of the prongs miss, then it's not effective.
Correct.
Or if it hits your jacket and it's not touching skin, it's not effective. So people are less likely to go hands-on, and the younger guys don't go hands-on as much because we'll have a taser. And they think that the camera also is going to be, the body-worn cameras.
Yes. They're
going to be the end all do all. Well, the point of the matter, if I'm standing here and I hear something go here, I look like that. I turn my head. I don't go. And you're going to miss it. And I say, well, why didn't he take that? You know what I mean?
Correct.
It's tough to explain to people that, what the body-worn camera is, how it affects our community, how expensive it is, but 98% of the time, the officer is exonerated totally. And I was tasked with the job of issuing the body-worn cameras at my Tampa Police Department when we first got them. And officers, they were just balking and blah, 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 blah. And I tell you, within a month, everyone shut up.
Yeah.
Because we caught so many people just absolutely lying on police. And it felt so good to call them in and go, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, and then hit play.
Yeah.
You know?
It just brings a whole nother level of transparency.
Right. And so, do we care? No, not really at this point. But I think the citizens might care when they get that bill, because it is extremely expensive to retain that stuff, and some stuff you have to retain for 30 years, and some stuff and it's all this.
The storage is
right.
The
storage is where the
okay.
where the bulk of the money is. But I just think if you have a relationship with those community relationships, and just you kind of promote that kind of atmosphere, I think everyone will have a true view of what's going on within the community, and they'll understand Ron would not have done that if it wasn't necessary.
Correct.
And then we hear the whole process, we see the investigation, now you understand, oh, okay,
awesome. So in the wake of the George Floyd situation, which sparked riots all across the world. So it goes to show, I think law enforcement officers here in Tampa Bay, we don't see a lot of the excessive use of force issues here. I would like to think, because of the training from both agencies, but Tampa is a very diverse community, so I would like to think that the agencies here are more reflective of their community. But those riots, we even had riots here in Tampa Bay, so it just shows how powerful that situation was. In the event that would have happened again, or had you been sheriff at the time, would you have deployed resources any differently from the previous incident here this summer?
Yes, absolutely. The Hillsborough County did a poor response. They had no direction, poor training, and they were ill-equipped. To listen to the deputies that were asking for help that first night was horrible. It'll take your breath away, and then someone gets hit in the head with a brick.
Yes.
And then TPD gets there, and they take care of business, and then the people move down Fowler, and then they start burning and pillaging, as you know. And we end up making Tampa made several arrests, like 67 arrests or something, and I want to say HSO made either 0 or 3, depends on who you talk to. And I was recently on a forum with the sheriff, and he's like, well, nothing really happened. There was no real damage at the mall and stuff. I'm like, well, you had one of your deputies get a brick to his head, and he thought he was paralyzed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Nothing really happened. They burned down 2 businesses and looted several businesses. Nothing really happened. So he's tone deaf in that sense. I don't understand how you have a CERT team that CERT team is trained. That's their job for civil unrest, and it takes you 4 hours to get there, and then you don't deploy them. And then the next day, when Tampa's calling, asking you for your help, you don't respond, and you don't allow your team to respond. So yes, I would have done things differently. First of all, we would have been there, we would have come on scene, and we would have deployed the troops accordingly. Now, I believe in protest. I think this country was largely built on protests. I like the protest of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's protest.
Correct.
Throwing bricks at police officers, throwing frozen water bottles at police officers, throwing sticks, hitting sticks, fighting police officers. That's called civil unrest. That's called rioting, and you're a felon. Once you kick someone's property open, steal their property, and burn it, those are all 3 felonies right there.
Correct.
They go to jail, period. If you break into my jail, you will stay in my jail. You don't get to do that. There's no freebies like that. If you want to protest all day long and part of tomorrow. I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with nonviolent protest. We'll protest with you. We'll walk alongside you. You won't bother anyone, you won't hurt anyone, and no one will hurt you. But this violent rioting has to go. And It don't matter what color you are or what your political affiliation is. It's wrong. Your message is lost. It's gone. You can say nothing to me.
Correct. And it's a shame what we saw here. I mean, not only in Tampa, but throughout the United States, with the protesters, the rioters, and the agitators. They're really taking away from the message.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And that's sad to see when they're burning down and looting, their own community, or in some cases not their own community. I know the gentleman who was arrested for the Champs. They call him up in New York. So I'm not sure if he's here or not, but either way, if he's here or not,
right.
It's just you're taking away from the message, and that's something I've always stressed. So.
I had one of my friends, their kids are really into the movement, and they were asking me questions, and they were so upset, and you know, and they're in California now, but they couldn't believe that they got treated just like the violent. I go, if there's someone next to you throwing rocks, how do they know you didn't throw the rock first, and
Right.
you're not gonna throw the next one or whatever?
Yeah.
When someone's standing next to you at a peaceful protest, you tell them to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
You don't stand there and let them stand with you.
Because then you're gonna be guilty of our
There
association.
you go. You lay with dogs, you get fleas. And so I said, if there's someone acting the fool, you make him leave, or you leave immediately.
All right. Awesome.
That's it.
Okay. Once again, folks, this is Inside the Chambers. I am your host, Chris Chambers, coming to you from Davidoff of Geneva in Tampa, Florida. A very special guest today, Ron McMullen, running for Sheriff of Hillsborough County. So, like us and share us on Facebook as well, and spread the word. Spread the word about Inside the Chambers. So right now, we're getting to a conversation about the community and protests and whatnot. Just to expand on that a little bit, the state attorney, he dropped charges for 67 individuals who were charged or who were arrested during the protests and the riots and so forth. As sheriff, how could you prevent something like that from happening? And I'm sure that causes a strain on the relationship with the state attorney's office and law enforcement. So how would you help mitigate that or prevent something like that from happening?
Well, I'll have a relationship with the state attorney, whomever he or she may be, and I'll also have a relationship with the public defender, Miss Julianne Holt. You have to have relationships because you don't want to call it a game, but it is just that, the people are going to have representation. So you have to be on the same page. Listen, if they do this, I'm bringing them to jail.
Yes.
If you let them out, then we're going to arrest them again, and then that's going to be on you. That's your political capital. That's
Correct.
on you. That's ridiculous to me. Looking from the outside, I'm like, that's why they continue to do this. Like Chicago, you keep letting them out.
There's no repercussion.
And there's no repercussions. So it's like a child, if it's not hot, he's going to keep doing it, So why did you do that? So what you just did is you kicked every police officer in the teeth. You told that man that caught a brick to the head, oh, don't worry about it, you'll be okay,
Yeah.
And no one pays for anything. And that's the problem.
Okay.
That's the problem. You can't do that. There has to be consequences for your actions, or you will continue that bad behavior.
I think you hit the nail right on the head with the consequences. And that not just applies to the riots. I just think it applies to all law enforcement, all across the board. All right. So during your nearly 30 years at Tampa Police Department, are there any specific policies, procedures, or just your way of leadership that you think you would bring the HCSO and the Sheriff's Office could benefit from?
Well, I want to treat adults like adults and realize that they have a lot of talent, smart people over there, talented, smart people over there that can really do their job, but they're not allowed to do their job. I got to do your job for you because I'm smarter than you. I got to think for you. No. The best coach is a coach that knows he's not the smartest man in the room. You go down, you tell the sergeant, you're the sergeant, act like it. You're the sergeant, what is he doing? As the sergeant, you should know what this guy looks like every day. I shouldn't see somewhere belt loops missed or shoes unpolished. And I'm talking about before the shift starts.
Correct.
And you're dirty before the shift starts. Come on, this guy is not presentable to the public. So you're the sergeant, why does he look like this? And why don't you know he looks like this? And why is your corporal not on top of that? Because your corporal should be the lead trainer on your squad. He should be your eyes and ears when you're not there. When you're not there, he's the sergeant. But the point of the matter is let these people do their job and let them know that you have their back.
Okay.
You make a mistake, everything's not the death penalty. Like, if I fire him, he should be fired. You know how much it takes to get that behind and finally in a cruiser?
Correct.
Just getting him into the academy, get him trained, get him outfitted, give him all of his tools and everything. And then you fire him for something so piddly, Now, you have to let these people know that you have their back and you're going to advocate for them.
Okay.
But come on, let's do the right thing. Let's do it correctly. We don't have to overdo anything. We don't have to over police anything. Let's just do the right thing. That's the main thing you want to bring is like, this is your job. If you can't do your job, then I can find someone else who can.
Correct.
If you don't want to be a sergeant, I can let you answer more calls because there's someone here who wants to be a sergeant, And you can't move up the ladder if you can't make a decision. If I have to make your decision, then, I can't depend on you.
Correct.
Just make a decision.
Okay. All right. So, and as sheriff, I think the obvious the law enforcement department gets so much attention for the sheriff's office, but another huge part is the detention services. So, which Tampa Police Department does not have experience with that. But your command experience, your wealth of knowledge, what do you think? How has that helped you, and how can you apply that to the detention services at the sheriff's office? Do you see any room for improvements there, and what practices you think you could bring or implement or change to make the detention services a better area of the sheriff's office?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at every area of the sheriff's office when I get there, and check for effectiveness and efficiency, and do we have measurable results? Is this working, or how does it work? Do we have the right people in there for food service, or can they do their own food service? Or what is the commissary, and how do we hold their money? And that's the biggest complaint everyone talks about. The money is being held incorrectly, and I have no knowledge of that. I plead ignorance to that. I said, when I get there, I'll fix it. If it's broken. If it's not broken, then it might fall on deaf ears. But if you have to get with the deputies that are there to explain it to you why and how and why this is the better system than that system. But one thing I can tell the deputies at Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, that if someone breaks in the jail, I will be right there with you, and they will get to stay with you. Okay?
Right.
It's not going to be this, oh, it was nonviolent, they just pulled the door off the track. That's garbage, and we all know it, and we have the video to prove it.
Okay.
Stop.
All right, I hear you on that. All right, let's talk about unions, police unions. So a lot of the community members, they feel that unions make it harder or difficult to get rid of the bad apples in whether it's your police departments or your sheriff's departments or offices. So, but most law enforcement officers, they're in favor of unions because they feel they have additional level of protections on the job. So what's your thoughts on a union, and would you plan on bringing one to Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
If the deputies at Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office want a union, I'm all for it. I'm still in the union. I'm still a dues-paying member for 32 years, and so Tampa Police Department has had a union, and they don't retain bad officers. Quite the contrary, you got to go.
Correct.
You got to go, and the union, it may have to represent you because you're a dues-paying member, but at the same time, here's what's going to happen: this or this.
Okay.
And the union generally works with the departments. That's having a relationship with the union and the community. When we know someone's a bad apple, they got to go, and you do everything you can to get them out of there. It's rare, extremely rare, and I can't think of anyone that got to stay that was a bad apple. We got rid of some people that were on the fence, didn't, but too close to call, got to go.
Correct.
Correct. So, and I got dragged pretty good. Oh, you want unions? They just want to hold bad people. I want you to think of industry out there that has a union. What that union did to upgrade their members. What that did to help them at work. You look at Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. I was on the board of our union, and at the time I was on the board of the PBA, which is the
Police
union,
Benevolent Association.
right? The Police Benevolent Association, and they are the union and the bargaining unit for the Tampa Police Department. I was also on the board of the FOP. I'm the current Fraternal Order of Police. I'm the current president of our Fraternal Order of Police, but that's not a bargaining unit. That's truly fraternal. Now, in some states, the Fraternal Order of Police is their union or their bargaining unit.
Okay.
Here, so people get confused.
Get those
They're
mixed up.
Yeah, oh, Ron's the head of the union. No, I'm not. That'd be Darla Portman. She's the president of the PBA. But the union, when I was on the board, they brought the union to HCSO. And I guess there were different personalities, different rubs. No one liked it. And they eventually broke it up and busted. They kept, do you still want the union? Yes. Boom. Do you still want the union? Yes. Boom. Do you still want the union? But then they were like, not promoting anyone that was in the union.
Correct.
Not doing this, everyone that was out of the union were getting promoted and doing all that stuff. Anyway, they ended up busting it. The third vote, they said no. So, okay, the union's gone. And apparently, people on this administration were part of that. And they don't want the union because I get to be a dictator,
Correct.
There's an instance, 4 deputies got in trouble for doing something. They all did the same thing. 1 gets fired, 1 gets demoted, and 2 get promoted. Now, how is that possible? That's because you don't have a union. You don't have progressive discipline.
Correct.
You're late to work. okay, you're demoted, your master deputy status is gone, now you're a rookie deputy pay. I'm late to work again. Hey, you won't believe what happened. Oh, okay, Ron, go ahead.
Correct.
That's what unions protect. They advocate for you. How's that fair?
Correct.
If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. How's that fair? That's what unions do. They help you. They give you a voice. Just like the community wants a voice, it gives the deputy a voice. People give that deputy or that officer on the street corner hell. They don't write no laws. They just enforce the laws, and especially when their bosses tell them what to do. Go give the bosses hell. Go give the lawmakers hell. Don't give that officer out in the street hell. That's the guy that you want to run to when you need help.
Correct.
When you dial 911, that's who's coming. You don't see the sheriff running to your 911 call or the senators running to your 911 call or the mayor running to your 911 call. Those are officers and the men and women on the street that do that in patrol. Don't give them so much hell, folks.
Correct.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, so basically from that perspective, I think the unions do make the quality of life better for officers.
Much better.
And I think especially in this day and age, being a law enforcement officer, all the stress and the stressors. So,
and it makes them have to stand up for like training.
Yeah.
The union is instrumental in getting training and getting education and getting those funds there for the officers, because departments wouldn't allocate those funds there unless they're asked to very stringently.
Correct.
It's tough to get training, and so I think the union is a plus for the community all the way around.
Okay.
I wish they would delve into it and look at unions at different jobs in history, and just ask your parents, did you have a union on your job, and what has it done for you? And before saying, oh, they just want unions so they can keep bad officers. Why do I want to keep a bad officer?
Right.
This fool over in Minnesota has caused this tragedy in law enforcement for the last 5 months. Why do we want to keep that?
Correct.
Who wants to keep a bad officer? Bad officers do nothing but bring the wrong attention, and it's crazy. That whole premise is just wrong.
Yeah.
Stop and think. Be smarter than that. Don't just do a soundbite because some politician said it. Be smarter than that.
All right. And I love how you broke that down and explained it, even comparing unions for other professions. And I think you said a key thing. People hear the sound bites, and and that's just one of the platforms, one of the reasons I wanted to have this show, where we can just get the correct and the truthful information out there. And I definitely appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
So, Ron, thank you for coming on today and answering my questions. And so the public out there can know who Ron McMullen is, your experience, and everything you bring to the table. So, would you like to have a closing statement? Your pitch for why people should be voting for you for sheriff?
Absolutely. I'm the best man for the job in this race by far. Look at my resume, even compared to the current sheriff's resume. I don't talk about it. I'm really about it. You can ask anyone I've ever worked with for the last 30 years. You can ask anyone I've gone to school with for the last 38 years. I really mean that. If you see a law enforcement officer, ask them. They might not like me, but they'll respect me because I treat everyone correctly. I treat them right. So please go to ronmcmullen.com, support, donate, follow Ron McMullen for Sheriff, follow and like, and you'll get invited to my kickoff party September 12th. Okay? All right. Thank you very much.
Ron, thank you for coming on. And, to hear how you progressed through your career as a commander, and you're just a down-to-earth person. You can just sit and have that conversation, and I think I'm a very good read of people. That lets me know that your leadership style is probably more motivational, where you want to motivate people to do the right job.
Absolutely.
So I just thank you for coming on. Once again, this is Inside the Chambers. I'm your host, Chris Chambers. Thank you for tuning in to our first show. Like and share us on Facebook. We'll be tuning in every Thursday at 7 p.m. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chambers. And Ron, thank you for being inside the chambers.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.